Welcome to the Vanessa G Fitcast. If you think eating less is the answer to getting lean, or that you have to choose between having donuts and wine or having a body you love, well then girl, you are in the right place. Chances are you've fallen victim to diet culture's terrible advice on how to eat and exercise. But don't worry, this podcast is going to bring you actionable information so you can start transforming your body without giving up your life. I'm Vanessa Gillette, founder and head coach of Vanessa G Fitness and Nutrition. This podcast was born from my passion for helping all women create bodies they feel confident in. Thank you for tuning in and trusting me to support and guide you. Now let's do this. Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Gillette, and here with me, as always,
Omar Pozos. What's going on, you guys?
Well, Omar, I'm excited to do this episode. I actually threw together this outline while we were at the movie theater the other night.
Yes, we went to Vanessa. I guess absolutely hates scary movies.
Yes, I'm the person who says that Stranger Things is too scary, and yet you guys thought it was a good idea to take me to a scary movie at the movie theater.
That's true. But it is Halloween. So in spirit of Halloween, we were visiting my family this weekend and we went to the newest Halloween movie. But as like the previews and stuff were coming on, like it's all these scary movies and like all these like devil.
I was done by the time the previews were done. I was like, I can't. This is too much. I'm out.
I'm like watching the movie and I turn to Vanessa and all of a sudden I see like her hat is all the way as low as it goes. Her shirt's like over her head and like there was light inside of her shirt. And I'm like,
well, Kate, let me just preface by saying that there was literally nobody else in the movie theater. So
yeah, I
wasn't like concerned about the fact that I was on my phone, but I did, at least for Omar's benefit, like covered with my shirt and everything so that you wouldn't really be able to see the
You were very
light.
courteous. Yeah, absolutely. But I turn and I'm like, babe, I like open her shirt. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I can't watch this.
And I needed something to put my mind away. So I just went ahead and did some work, put together some podcast outlines, did some content writing. Like I made the hour productive, even though it was not my finest hour.
Well, to be honest, the movie kind of sucked. So credit to you for being, on top of things while we were at the movies. But
obviously, we're not here to talk about scary movies. What we are here to talk about is something also very scary.
Oh, ready? Oh. It was actually the Michael Myers Halloween movie that we went to. So very appropriate. Yeah. We did that on purpose.
But the scary thing, the true scary thing, is when women give up too soon on themselves. Because, I see this so often. And it's normal. We live in a society of instant gratification. Like I can get something from Amazon in like 4 to 6 hours nowadays. I can Instacart my groceries over. Like we get things as soon as we need them, right? So it's normal. Like we've trained ourselves to want things fast.
Yeah. Nowadays, I'm like, if something's going to deliver in more than 48 hours, I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, why is this taking so long?
Right. But, that's not how it works with your fitness journey. I know we've talked about this like ad nauseum on this podcast, but I still see this a lot where women will just unfortunately never get to the body they want because they're always just looking for progress to show up externally first. And I always know this is going to be a problem whenever I hear from somebody that they're like, I'm only motivated by seeing progress. And the reality is that's just not actually how things work. Yes, there are, I'd say majority of our clients, do see a lot of physical progress, but that's not what we're looking for up front. And when I say they see a lot of physical progress, what I mean is that right off the bat, we see a lot of body recomposition through our methods and the way we do things very strategically. We can go about this process of resetting our metabolism, which for some people may not necessarily, when they try and do that process on their own, it could end up resulting in weight gain. It could end up resulting in unwanted physical external things. But the way we go about it, we do ensure that our clients typically see significant body recomposition where they look leaner, they look more toned, they look 10, 20 pounds leaner, even if it doesn't reflect that way on the scale. But regardless, there are still, women out there who they don't want to ever even take that chance on themselves because they're like, well, I'm only motivated if I see the progress externally in that physical change in, just my, a drastic change in my body shape. Like, I just want to have the incredible 8-week transformation And, I see those transformations on your Instagram, Vanessa, so I know that happens. But if it doesn't happen for me, then I'm out.
Yeah.
And the reality is that that's just not always the case for everybody, because every body is different. Everybody comes from a different background of diet history. And the more extensive our dieting history, typically the longer it takes to go about that process to achieve that body recomposition. But unfortunately, so many women just find themselves stuck forever because they just are only looking for that external progress. They want to see the immediate changes in their body shape, their body size. And that might not just be realistic for everybody based on, your diet history, what you've done in the past. There's so many factors that really are going to affect the length of time to get that long-term result. But if you do actually want life-changing physical changes in your body that are going to last forever and not continue in that cycle of just looking for the quick fix that never comes, then you have to just go about it the right way.
And I guess I'll be honest, it's easier said than done. Like, that's a very hard concept to really understand, and one or two to really follow through, because I think it's just human nature to be like, okay, if I'm working on XYZ, I should expect these results, right? But the reality of it is, sure, you might be working on this for 3 months, 6 months, or whatever that might look like for you, but you didn't get to where you were in 3 months. You didn't get to where you were in 6 months. Like, that's been a continuous process for a lot of women for the last, 10, 15 years for the most part. So it's very difficult for you to kind of adjust your body and maybe undo all of the bad things or fad diets or all of the negative things that you put your body through in a course of 3 months or in a course of 6 months. So like you said, for things to be sustainable and with long-term effects, you have to put the hard work in at first, the boring work, and maybe the time and effort where you don't see a ton of changes, so that you can get to the other side, build the right foundation, and then see the progress that you want and keep it all for good, and keep that results for good.
Exactly. And I think a really, really good example of this I want to actually share from Ed Mylett's latest book called The Power of One More. And this book is really all about how to just move closer to your dream life, to your goals, to your business goals, your body goals, your life goals, essentially, by not giving up, by really going after that one more, just giving one more try, essentially. And in this book, he shares here that, one more try is so important that I want to give you a few examples to drive home the point that often in life, it feels like we're making no apparent progress, even though we are. My favorite of these is what I call busting open the piñata. Life is like taking swings at a piñata. It's also an excellent metaphor for how to understand the impact of one more try. There's no external evidence that we're making progress, and that's why people often quit before getting to the part of their lives where the candy comes out. The perfect example of this is from a few years ago when I went to a birthday party for a 5-year-old. At the party, there was a piñata, and one by one, the kids put on a blindfold. They stepped up, were given a bat, spun around, and then told to swing at the piñata. The first couple of kids grazed the piñata. They were disoriented and didn't know which direction to swing. Even with some well-intentioned help from their fellow partygoers, they did no apparent damage to the piñata, or so it seemed. Those kids got a little frustrated when nothing came out. What they didn't realize is that inside, the piñata was slowly breaking down. The kids who went up later figured out the game a bit more. They stepped up, bat in hand, and took their swings. Many of them made solid contact and did some damage, whether they knew it or not. The compounding effect of pounding on that piñata, even if it seemed like the piñata was holding firm, was making a difference. Every time a blow landed, those kids made invisible progress, growing ever closer to the ultimate goal of busting it wide open. All the kids shrieked with anticipation after each thump. After a few more whacks, they sensed the papier-mâché beast was weakening. Still, the piñata would not break. When all of the children had taken their swings, Mom blindfolded the birthday boy and he stepped up for his turn. That little man reared back, and with the mightiest one more try you're ever going to see, he busted that piñata wide open. You know what came next. More than a dozen children scurried to gobble up all the treats and goodies that had fallen from the piñata. Was it that one shot that busted the piñata wide open? Absolutely not. It was the compounded accumulation of all those hits that contributed to achieving the goal of getting the candy. Too many people quit their business, their workouts, or their relationships before the candy comes out. Although they're making progress, it doesn't always show up externally. My advice to you is to keep hitting the piñatas of your life. Whether you can see it or not, you're making more progress than you might think.
Man, that's powerful. That really is.
Right? Really enjoying that book. It's one I've been reading here for a little bit. Always love Ed Mylett's
content.
content.
That's on my next to read list because I love his stuff too. But kind of going back to that point is, and I've heard it in a couple different analogies, but it's like, the people that are like chiseling the rock or the statue, whatever that might look like. It's not the one hit. It's not the one program. It's not the one thing you did today. It's a combination, a compilation of things that are going to get you to where you want to go. Or in our case, for our engagement, we had a piñata at our party. We gave Vanessa a bat, and with one strike, she just knocked it out of the park. So you can just give Vanessa the bat, and she'll take care of it for you.
Yeah. But, I really do love the piñata analogy because this is really how it works in that process of healing your metabolism, getting to a place where you can easily lose body fat without having to cut your calories down, without having to cut out all your favorite foods. It really does take time. You have to heal your body from the inside out. We have to get our hormones to a good spot. We have to get our body to a place where it feels safe again to be able to lose body fat. Because again, remember, storing body fat is at the end of the day a protective mechanism. So if we're stressed out, we've been trying to diet for all of our lives, we've been trying to force our body to lose weight for years and years, then it's no wonder our body isn't responding to any diets or any weight loss strategies, any fat loss phases. It just takes time and it takes patience. And so if you're not seeing the external physical progress right away, that doesn't mean that you aren't making progress and you aren't actually getting closer and closer and closer to busting open the piñata, to chipping or to busting the rock open that you've been chipping away at, to all those different things. So I know that this is, again, a harder thing to really put into practice. It's easier to talk about this. So I really want to give our listeners 4 ways that you might be making progress if you're going about this process of resetting your metabolism. There's probably 4 ways or at least the 4 ways that I initially see our clients make progress first, regardless of how their physical body is changing. And these, to me, are always incredible signs that we are on the right track and that we are going to bust that piñata open, that we are going to reach our weight loss goals, and we are going to achieve the body that we want in time.
I like these because, like you said, for those people that are just so enamored with results, with seeing some sort of progress, it's like, okay, instead of focusing on, because I like that. Like I like to have like a finish line and be like, okay, I want to see progress because that motivates me, that, keeps me on track and everything like that. But if it's not a physical result that I want to focus, I'd rather focus on kind of what you're about to chat, Vanessa, about, and continue to still get the motivation that I want, but focusing on the right things and not the wrong things. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So the 4 ways to actually measure your progress, these are the 4 ways that I see our clients make progress initially without necessarily seeing the external change, but this is the best form of measuring your progress. Number 1, ask yourself, are you able to eat more without weight gain? Now, think about this. So many of our clients come to us and they're saying, I'm eating 1,200 calories. I'm eating 1,500 calories. Or maybe they don't know how many calories they're eating, but they know, okay, I don't feel like I'm eating very much, especially on the weekdays. I get really busy with work. I tend to forget to eat. I tend to forget breakfast. I forget lunch. And they're often forgetting meals. They know that they're probably under eating. Yet, they aren't able to lose weight. They're slowly gaining weight over time, even if they aren't just putting on tons of weight over every single month. When they look at themselves over the course of the last few years, they have put on substantial amount of weight. That right there tells me that their metabolism has adapted to where they are now burning that amount of low calories that they are used to eating, whether it's 1,200, 1,500, something along those lines. For some clients, it might be they're burning 2,000 calories, but they're gaining weight. And realistically, for their body shape, their body size, their activity level, they should be able to maintain their weight on closer to 3,000 calories. That does happen. Now, if you are going about this process of strategically resetting your metabolism, using the methodologies that we teach in our 90-day metabolic reset method, if you are now getting to a place where you are eating more food than you were before, you're no longer skipping those meals on weekdays. Maybe you actually know how much you were tracking before. You know that you were eating 1,500 calories before, but now you're eating 2,000 calories and you aren't gaining weight. You're, maintaining your weight about the same. that right there is progress.
Can
'Cause
you?
your body is responding. Your metabolism is revving up. You are able to burn more calories now without putting on weight. That is an incredible thing.
Can you explain that a little bit? And I'm putting you on the spot here because I get that question so many times, and you explain it 100 times better than I can. When people are like, because it sounds very counterintuitive, and it's very logical to be like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how can you eat more without gaining the weight? Can you explain it in like 10, 15 seconds? As far as like when you start to eat more, what your metabolism does that allows you to be able to eat more without the weight gain?
Yeah. And I mean, we have a whole podcast dedicated to this as well. So I would definitely go back and listen to that one where I think it's specifically called
How to lose
fat by eating more. And it really does go through that process a little bit more in depth. But, shorthand 10 to 15 second version is essentially you have been consistently eating, let's say 1,500 calories per day on average because you're missing meals, you're purposely trying to eat lower calorie options, like whatever it is, you're eating lower calories for an extended period of time. And so if that's the amount of energy you're bringing in, because calories are just energy, then your body can only burn that amount of energy. It adapts to that. That becomes its baseline over time. Now, if we go through this strategic process of adding in a little bit more calories, and doing it in a strategic way where we're also changing the way we train, we're changing our lifestyle, our stress triggers, our stress management practices, we're changing all these different principles, then we can actually have essentially an opposite response in our metabolism where now we're burning 1,700 calories on average. Now we're burning 1,900 calories on average. And we just keep bumping that up and just getting that lever up a little bit to where your metabolism is saying, oh, okay, if we're consistently bringing in that amount of energy, then I can burn that amount of energy. And that's how you reset your metabolism.
Yeah, I love that because I always tell people, I'm like, it is possible. And they're like, how? It just makes no sense to me, right? And like you said, it's when you get your metabolism to where it can boost up, it can use that extra calories, extra food as fuel to help you crush your workouts, to help you have a better energy level throughout the day. That's what makes a difference and just, helps you eat more and still, like you said, transform your body like you want.
I completely understand people's confusion because, even like the book that I was just reading this excerpt from, I know there was a section in there where he mentions of like wanting to lose weight and like it just being so simple. If you just exercise more and eat less. I'm like, I appreciate the sentiment of just wanting to encourage people to, live healthier lifestyles and things. But for men, which, this is why Omar's trained in working with women, and he talks to women all day long. He understands the differences in women. But for many men, they don't quite understand that it is different with women. Because if it was that simple of just exercise more and eat less, guess what? We probably would have a lot more just super lean, really shredded, toned women walking around, but it's not that easy. It's because we're just putting ourselves on the back burner. We're taking care of everybody else. We're letting our stress levels get too high. We're not actually taking time to feed our body and make our body feel safe, that we actually are creating an opposite response in our body where exercising more and eating less is actually causing us to gain weight over time.
And the reality of it is, and I really hate to say this, but unfortunately, I think women are just, at a younger age, they're just experiencing all these body transformations and they're just so much more like susceptible to being like, oh, I don't like my body. So at a very young age, they start to restrict their body.
Right. We're being put on birth control at younger and younger ages. Like we're doing these different things that are just changing our hormone profiles, that are changing our metabolism and are just affecting our bodies in different ways.
So then they get to a point, in the early 20s and 30s, and they're like, why is my body shutting down on me? And it's like, well, it's because of what you've been doing for the last 5-10 years.
Exactly. But now I do want to get to our other 3 ways that you actually
I feel like we just went down
can
the rabbit
measure
hole.
Progress here. So number 2 on my list, are you binging less? Now, binge eating, we just did a whole episode on this last week of how I personally overcame binge eating, but this is a topic, this is one where a lot of women struggle with this. They don't necessarily even recognize it. They don't necessarily talk about it, but a lot of women find themselves where, it's typically the same women who are under eating on weekdays. Maybe at night, they get home, they find themselves like reaching into the pantry, pulling out the bag of chips or pulling out the pint of ice cream and just eating until they just don't feel good. Find that happens a lot on weekends. Have a few too many drinks, order some pizza, feel horrible, feel disgusting. Like these practices of binge eating, going on vacations, especially when we've been on these restrictive diets, because let's be honest, these same women we're talking about have been trying to restrict, or now they go on a vacation with their family or their friends and they feel out of control. They just eat so much food, they drink so much that they just feel horrible every single day. They get worse and worse. Well, with our clients, one of the very first signs I see that we are making progress towards the body that they want is by seeing that they are binging less. And it's like we talked about on our episode last week, when we, quote unquote, stop binging, it's not like a black and white, just you go from binging to you just never binge again. It's a progression of now we're binge eating less, and we're binge eating to less of a degree. So when we have clients who, they might be working with us for 4 weeks and then they have a family vacation on week 5, which is totally normal. Our clients, we don't ask them to just put their life on hold to come and work with us. We want them to work through their busy seasons of life, but that's an aside. What I'm getting at here is these clients, they go on their family vacation at week 5 and then they come back and they're like, wow, you know what? I didn't track that whole week. I was just talking to a client last week about this, which is why it's very top of mind for me. But Courtney, she was just saying, you know what? I just went to Hawaii, had a great time. I didn't overeat. I didn't binge. And I just, I know that I still have progress to make, but I recognize that I'm playing the long game. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I'm proud of myself for being able to go on this trip, not track the entire trip, be present, enjoy myself, and not binge eat. That's incredible. And that's what I love to see. And that right there is progress.
And I think that just to kind of highlight, and really kind of reference the first point you made is, what keeps you from, late night binge eating, cravings, getting the cookie jar, getting the pint of ice cream out, is when you have enough fuel or enough food to fuel your body throughout the day. Because that even happened to me this past weekend. We went to my mom's house in South Carolina. There were freshly homemade cookies there. There were brownies in the pantry. And sure, I had a cookie, probably a cookie every night. But the reality of it was, if I had maybe been starving myself throughout the day, I get to the point where I see the cookie jar. I'm like, oh, I am really hungry. I'm really craving these cookies. I would have probably not just stopped at 1. I probably would have had 2 or 3 or 4 and then just made myself sick or just not feel great. But when you have a well-balanced breakfast, a well-balanced lunch, and a well-balanced dinner, and your body is just, overall in a better spot, those cravings just naturally become less and less over time.
Exactly. And I want to even point that out because you had said there of in the past, maybe if I had been restricting during the day, then at night I'd feel really hungry and I want the cookies. It's not even, I find for a lot of women, a feeling of hunger at night. It's more so a feeling of just I can't control myself. It's a feeling of just they feel like it's a characteristic of I have no self-control. I am not capable of controlling myself around a box of cookies at nighttime. They start to really internalize it as just a belief about themselves, when the reality is those beliefs, those thoughts in your head are coming from signals from your body. And many of those signals are coming from your nervous system, which is in sync with your metabolism, in saying, hey, we've been restricted. Hey, we need a little bit more calories. Hey, those cookies are pretty calorie dense. Let's have a few of those. And it's not necessarily you feeling physical sensation of hunger. It's you having these thoughts of, I feel like I really need to eat another cookie. I want another cookie. I can't stop myself. I'm having another. And it's just getting caught up in that cycle.
Yeah. Or and sorry to kind of keep going down this, but the other one is hey, if you're on a meal plan or a restrictive diet where you can't have cookies, you can't have ice cream, and you're on a vacation and you're like, well, I know I can have it this weekend. So you're going to go balls to the wall, have it 3-4 times as much as you would on a normal basis because your plan or your meal doesn't restrict it, right? Or doesn't let you have it. But instead, if you follow a sustainable approach where you can have ice cream whenever you want, you can have cookies whenever you want, you're like, oh, I don't have to have a second, a third serving of it because I can have it on Monday. I can have it on Tuesday. Exactly. And then again, that goes back to being all right, you're able to eat more. You're able to enjoy yourself. You're able to really reduce the binging because you can have these foods whenever you feel like it.
Yep. And so then, this really sets us up for number 3 on this list of these ways that you're
I did
actually,
it on purpose.
these ways that you're actually making progress without potentially even realizing it is number 3 is, are you less food focused? And this one I really like to bring up because I think people overlook this. There might be women who are listening to our last point of are you binging less? They might be like, I've never had an issue with binging. That's not really me. It's not really something I've ever truly struggled with. But I find that a lot of times those same women, They might also be the type of women who are more type A. They're super regimented. Maybe they've been tracking their calories or their macros for a very long time and they plan everything out, they meal prep, but they don't realize that they might actually have an almost obsessive relationship with the way they eat. And they may find themselves where every single day they're just constantly thinking about their next meal. You know, they have breakfast and then like they're going to work and they're just already thinking about when am I going to have lunch? They're counting down the time until lunch. They're thinking about what they're going to have for lunch. And they're just like, that's always on their mind. Then they're eating lunch. And as they're eating it, they're already now thinking about the next thing they're going to eat.
I had a call like that. And one girl was like, yeah, I went on this amazing vacation and literally my itinerary revolved around when I was going to eat breakfast, when I was going to eat lunch, and when I was going to eat dinner. And she was like, and I never enjoyed my vacation because the only thing on my mind was, what am I going to eat? Where are we going to go to eat? And, you know, what am I going to get there when I get there?
Exactly. And what that does is it robs you from being present in the moment. And at the end of the day, you know, we all say that we like, ultimately we want to feel happy, but really what does that mean? It means that we want to feel present. We want to be able to go into those moments that feel like just like pure raw happiness. But in the reality, in those moments, what that feeling is it's just presence. It's you focused on the moment of you being with the people that you're around or doing the activity that you're doing and just not thinking about, you know, what's coming up later in your day or what you're going to eat for lunch after this or, you know, what happened earlier that day. It's you only focusing on that moment and being present. And I think we can all agree that if we're on an incredible vacation, like the girl you talked to, we want to be present in the moment. We want to be enjoying every second of that vacation, enjoying the people that we're around, enjoying the sights we're seeing, enjoying the activities we're doing. And if we're focused on food, we're thinking about our next meal, we're just really, really stuck in that mindset, it's going to rob us from that presence and that happiness that we're seeking.
Absolutely.
So in this process of rebuilding our clients' metabolisms to where they can burn the body fat easily, a big form of progress that I see is them realizing like, you know what? I'm less food focused than I used to be. And they don't realize it until suddenly like one day they're like flip a switch and like, oh my God, something's changed. I used to always be thinking about food all the time. And now I don't really think about it that often. It's just like when I suddenly notice like, oh, I'm getting kind of hungry, or I suddenly notice like, oh, it's time for me to eat, that now I'm thinking about food. And that really is a great sign, because what that tells me is your body, again, your nervous system has now chilled out a little bit. It's saying, okay, we are well fueled, we're well fed, we're burning more calories, we're in a good spot. We don't need to be worrying about food.
Yeah. And I think it kind of goes back to, like you said, that like ancient times or caveman times where like your body isn't stressed when its next meal is going to come. So then therefore, like you said, your nervous system kind of comes down and you're like, all right, so, you know, let's go to the pool. Let's go to whatever vacation you're at or wherever you're at in life or whatever you're doing. It's like you just use food as, you know, fuel, but not, your life doesn't revolve around it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then number 4 on this list of 4 ways to see yourself making progress before you see the external physical results. Number 4 is, do you have more energy? This one is...
Say it again for the people in the back.
Do you have more energy?
That's my favorite one.
This one is so important. If you are feeling more energetic, you are waking up less tired, you're not having quite that, much of an afternoon crash anymore. You're not just exhausted hitting the pillow at night. You're not, waking up every day just like wishing you had a couple more hours of sleep. Like when you start to feel less tired, you start to feel more energetic. What that means is your body has more energy. And again, that's what we're talking about with rebuilding our metabolism. It means we're burning more calories. We're burning more energy. We're able to do that. If you have more energy, you're burning more energy. That's essentially how it works. So instead of just every single day walking in front of the mirror and, lifting your shirt up and checking to see if your stomach has changed, or analyzing photos of yourself and just like really, really hyper analyzing your body shape and size, start to just check in with how you feel. How is your energy? Has it improved? And don't necessarily just look at like, oh, is my energy higher today than it was yesterday? Think about, has my energy over the course of this week or this month been higher relatively than it was over the course of last month? That's where you're going to see the changes start to happen. And it really, that's the one that I think really hooks everybody in, where when they feel that feeling of more energy, they're like, oh man, my body is changing. I'm on the right track. I am bought in. I am so dedicated now to this long-term process of getting to that body in this sustainable way that I know I can maintain, because this feels freaking amazing.
Yeah. And I think honestly, for me and the people, the calls and stuff and the women that I talk to, I think that's the biggest one, because when they have more, just not just energy, but more constant energy throughout the day, morning, afternoon, night, it helps them just become, better at their jobs, better in their workouts and their trainings, better moms. I mean, it just kind of gives them like that extra like kick almost, and they're like, oh my god, like I'm a new person, like I have so much more energy, and I have time to run around with the kids, I have time to take them to soccer practice, I have time to be the best, I don't know, we talked to a lot of nurses, be the best nurse I can, and it just literally transforms how you show up and just who you are as a person.
And this is also a huge catalyst for that body recomposition that we're talking about, because as you have more energy, you're going to be moving more without even realizing it. There is a thing called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That is the bulk of the amount of calories that you burn on a daily basis comes from your NEAT, from your non-exercise activity. You just walking around, kind of fidgeting, moving, just, moving your body. And when you have more energy, without realizing it, like without consciously trying to move more, you're going to actually find that you're going to move more. So now you're moving more, you're moving your body in ways, in the past you might have been sitting at your desk for hours at a time, to where you would drink your water bottle down and you'd be like, oh man, I need to refill that, but I'll get to it later. And suddenly another hour passes and you're like, my water is still empty. I probably should have filled that up an hour ago, but I just didn't for some reason. The some reason is because your body had low energy, and there's that little part in your subconscious that's saying, nope, let's conserve energy because we're not burning very much. So let's stay seated here for a little bit longer, where now you're having more energy. And how does that show up? Your water bottle is empty and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go get up now and go fill it. I'm going to go stretch my legs. And you don't have a second thought about it. It's not a battle in your head of should I get up to go fill up my water bottle? It's like, oh, my water bottle's empty. I'm going to go fill it up now.
I'm over here smiling because every time I feel like I've been, dialing in my nutrition, and I feel like my energy levels are so constant. You remember, the movie Elf, right? That's one of your favorite movies. The scene where he's like, I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it. He's just so full of energy and happy. I'm like, I feel like that's how I feel when my nutrition is dialed in. I'm like, yes, I had, my great breakfast. I'm like, I have so much energy. Let's work. Let's do this. Let's run around.
And you are in love so much.
And I don't care who knows it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so the energy, when it picks up, that's when I know our body is really going to start changing from here. We're going to really see the results. The piñata is about to bust open and the candy is going to come out.
Yeah.
So I hope that this really helps somebody out there who maybe is feeling like, I feel like I'm doing everything right, and yet my body isn't changing. And I see, transformations on Instagram, and I'm wondering, why am I not having as fast of a transformation? What's wrong with me? Maybe this doesn't work for me. Maybe I should try something different. And the reality is, nothing is wrong with you. No, you don't need to do something different.
You're human.
You just need to do what is working for you and keep chipping away at it. Stay focused on your own path. Don't be comparing yourself to other people who have different lives, different histories with their bodies, different bodies. Only focus on yourself and your own path. And if you have a coach, listen to your coach and what she is telling you, because that is going to keep you on the right track to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. When it comes to giving up that short-term happiness for those future gains or future progress, when you have a support system like a coach or somebody that's there that's kind of helping you navigate that along the way, share that with them, and also lean on them and kind of tell them how you feel, because that's going to be the most important thing, is kind of analyzing how you feel and helping them, or allowing them to kind of shift your perspective and help you focus on the right things as opposed to, the short-term progress.
Exactly. And to wrap up our episode today, too, I want to remind you that we are doing a giveaway for a $250 Amazon gift card. To win this gift card, it is super easy. All you have to do is leave a rating and review on iTunes or Spotify, whatever your choice of listening to the podcast is.
Or both.
You could leave it on both and get 2 entries. That works too. But you have to leave the review, and then you must screenshot it and send it to me on Instagram at Vanessa G Fitness, so that I know that it was entered and I can count you in our entries.
And I'm telling you guys, $250 on Amazon can go a long way. And you can, nowadays get whatever you order in 4 or 6 hours and be on your merry way.
Exactly. That's your instant gratification right there, is the Amazon.
Yep.
So go ahead, do the review right now before you forget. Screenshot it, send it over to me, and we'll get you entered in there. As of right now, I don't think we have any entries.
No,
so
not yet.
as of right now, if you send one over, you would have
You
a
are the winner.
100% chance of winning.
Yeah.
We're going to announce that winner on episode 100, so stay tuned for that. And for now, thank you so much for listening, and we will be back next week.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening. If you learned something today, the best way to say thank you is to subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. And if this particular episode resonated with you, do me a favor and take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram story. Don't forget to tag me at Vanessa G Fitness so I can show you some love. All right, my carb queens, talk to you in the next episode.